Did you get that? I'm so confused.
Also, ich verstehe nur Bahnhof.
You only understand train station? It's all Greek to me.
Understanding Train Station. Living between cultures with Josh and Faley.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Understanding Train Station. My name is Josh.
My name is Feli. Welcome back.
Trying to sound funny.
How are you doing, Josh?
I'm doing well. I'm doing very well. Excited for Christmas vacation, some time off from work, a little travel, which I'm doing, so just looking forward to all of that, getting out of Munich for a bit. I feel like I've been here for a while.
Yeah.
So it'll be nice to see some different scenery. Although I was in Regensburg this weekend with some friends.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Nice.
Yeah, we did like a little Christmas weekend. So we had a raclette evening, and then the next day we went to Regensburg and just walked around.
Cool, but they don't have Christmas markets there either.
No. But they at least had like Christmas decorations out more than here in Munich. So it was pretty. It was a nice.
Yeah. Regensburg is like more... Yeah, that's nice. Regensburg is more one of those smaller, cuter towns. It's not like a super small town. It's like relatively big still, but it has more that vibe of a small, like university town kind of.
Yeah, they have like a lot of the little alleyways. And I mean, for me, it was super idyllic because we were just walking through the town. They had the Christmas lights on, and then the church bells were ringing, and I was like, oh, this is cool. This is cool. Nice. I told my friends I felt like I was in Hogsmeade from Harry Potter.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. I've only been to Regensburg once, but it was in the summer, so like very different vibe. And also, I remember when I was there, it was really packed. So I don't know how it was now. If it was pretty busy.
It wasn't. It was a Sunday too, so it's already
so everything was
in the
closed.
city. Yeah. But yeah, how are you?
Doing well. I feel like the time is just running. I don't even know where it's all gone, but the year's almost over. This is our what did I just learn? Penultimate episode
of the year.
Of the year. Not in general, of the year.
Yeah.
So the second to last episode, the vorletzte Episode of 2021, which is pretty crazy because I remember, like, it feels like it was just yesterday, to me at least, that we were sitting in the studio in Munich and recording that Josh in Germany episode, and then we also recorded that episode with Daniel. And did we also do a dialect guessing one back then?
I think so. I can't remember to be sure.
I think so
it all
too.
kind of runs together. The time in the studio in Munich is like a time warp. So,
but then we went back there in August. But we've only been there twice in total. But 2 different months or 2 different points in time.
Yeah,
but anyways, it feels like that was just yesterday. So I don't know how it's Christmas again. It's crazy to me.
It is pretty unfathomable.
I sound like... Are you trying to sound just as pretentious as me with my penultimate?
With your penultimate? I'm trying to use some more complex vocabulary.
Yeah, I don't know that word, so you're going to have to explain it to me.
Unbelievable. It means unbelievable.
Oh, say the word.
Unfathomable. To fathom something?
I don't know that.
I don't know what the etymology is, but to fathom something is like to believe.
Okay.
Like I can't fathom
like,
something.
Is it related to faith?
Maybe. Now I have to look it up.
I bet like most of our non-English speaking listeners and viewers actually know this word, and they're all like, Feli, how can you not know that?
Fathom.
Your English is so good. Your face.
Well, it says that fathom is a unit of measure, which is equal to 6 feet or 1.8288 meters.
Oh my God.
But that unfathomable meaning. Unfathomable, incapable of being fully explored or understood.
Okay. And in what context did you use it again? I already forgot what we were talking about.
That is pretty crazy that it's been a year. I
sound like one of those 80-year-old people like, oh, time is going by so fast. What? That was 30 years ago? No, that was just 2 years ago. But yeah, so do you want to tell us where you're traveling to?
Yes, I'm going to Mexico. So I'm very excited about that. Very, very excited. It's been a trip that I've had planned for a while. This is Yeah, I'm going with some Mexican friends too, so it'll be a really nice experience. I haven't seen them in a while.
Yeah.
So yeah, just looking forward to catching up with them and having some good tacos and tequila.
And you've never been to Mexico, right?
I have never been to Mexico.
Even though you sound like you're a Mexican Spanish native speaker.
I don't sound like that.
No? Well, that's what people always say. Like when we were in
Yeah,
Puerto
I
Rico
mean-
and you spoke Spanish, everyone was like, you sound like you're Mexican.
Yeah, I mean, I don't sound like a Mexican native speaker, but I definitely have a Mexican flair to my Spanish. I was talking to Letty earlier today, and I was talking to her in Spanish because I was watching a Spanish show, and when I was talking to her, she just slowly started to grin. I'm like, just leave me alone because she makes fun of my accent.
Because she used to live in Spain. We actually did an
Yes.
episode with her, so I'm going to link that somewhere here so you guys can check it out. But she's Josh's French roommate who also lived in Spain growing up. So her Spanish is more like the European Spain Spanish. What do you call that in Spanish? The different
I
Spanishes.
I guess I would say, what would we say?
Because in English you have American English, British English.
I would say more like Castilian Spanish.
Oh, okay. So you don't.
But it's confusing because in Spanish you have two words for the language. You can either say español, but the more specific word is castellano, because it's the Spanish the language spoken in Castilla.
Okay.
Castilla. I don't know. Castilla probably. I don't know. The Kingdom of Castilla.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm asking complicated questions. Sorry.
Yes. Peninsular Spanish, I think, would be the proper.
Okay.
Because it's from the
that makes
peninsula. Or Iberian Spanish. Who knows? It doesn't matter. The Spanish from Spain.
Yeah, that's what I tried to say. That sounds really dumb to say it like that. But yeah, and you obviously, because you learned Spanish, first of all, in the US, but also you had a lot of Mexican coworkers here in Cincinnati before you moved to Germany. And that's kind of like how you became pretty fluent in Spanish. And so that's your influence.
Yeah, so it'll be it'll be cool to go to the place where like I fit in the most as far as the way I speak Spanish.
Yeah, and probably also culture-wise, right? Like, because you've been exposed to a lot of more Mexican culture.
Definitely,
I feel like.
definitely. So I'm excited to be able to compare kind of like the Mexican stuff that I know from the U.S. and also from my Mexican friends with Mexican culture in Mexico. So it'll be a fun experience.
And also, it's such a beautiful country. I mean, I've never been, but it's just those places that you're going to visit are probably going to be so amazing, especially at this time of the year too. I think with the climate, I think that's going to be nice.
Samer. So I'm going with Samer, the guy we actually interviewed him as well. You get to link lots of different videos.
Yes,
in this
that was like
this episode.
about a year ago, actually, pretty much a year ago, because it was right before Christmas 2020.
Yeah,
we did the episode with him.
I'm going with him. And he was telling me today when we were speaking, like, it'll be warmer, but Mexico City still gets cold. So
how cold?
I think it gets quote unquote cold.
Okay, yeah, that's what
I was
would
looking
think.
at like I don't think below 15 degrees is at least the time that I'm there. So I mean, it'll be warmer than here, but I think some of the highs are in the mid 20s.
Yeah.
This is in Celsius, so don't ask me what they are in Fahrenheit because I haven't been looking at the Fahrenheit
weather forecast.
The Fahrenheit version, yes, the Fahrenheit weather forecast.
Are you like completely used to Celsius now? Do you think in Celsius?
Yes.
That's crazy.
I mean, like, I think in Celsius of knowing like if it's cold or hot, like based off of that. I don't think as far as like, okay, 2 degrees Celsius is this in Fahrenheit, or 25 degrees Celsius is this in Fahrenheit. I just generally know, like, if it's 25, I don't probably need to be wearing a sweatshirt outside.
Yeah. So do you ever look up the temperature in Fahrenheit as well? Or just
sometimes.
in Celsius? Okay.
Every once in a while, I'll look it up just to, like, test my feeling to see if my feeling is accurate with the way that I would feel if I saw it in Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Interesting.
Do you think in Fahrenheit?
Both, I feel like, because sometimes I catch myself in videos and also I think podcasts that I just say when the temperature is in the 80s and 90s. And then I'm like, wait, no, the Germans are going to be like, what is she talking about? But on my phone, I actually have 2 weather apps on here, and the one is set to Fahrenheit and the other one is set to Celsius, so that I can always, just without changing the settings, to see both. And I usually look at the Celsius one first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was funny the other day. I was out with walking around town with some of my friends, and there was a couple Australians with us, and they were making fun of me because I said that. I say making fun of, like taking the piss.
Yeah.
Because I said that our other friends are like half a kilometer behind us. And they're like, oh, half a kilometer. Like, because they're not used to hearing Americans say the word kilometer.
Yeah. So this is going to be a dumb question, but do Australians use miles or do they use kilometers?
My understanding is that they use kilometers.
Okay.
They said
Don't
they
British
basically
people use
me-
miles, though?
I think so.
I always get confused with that.
My Australian roommate said they basically use metric for everything. The only thing where they really tend to use inches is when referring to their height. So everyone knows their height in centimeters and in foot inches.
That doesn't even make sense, I feel like. Just centimeters is so much superior, obviously. But no, I never understood that with British people, how like most of the stuff is metric, but then like miles are not. It's
as usual, they can't commit to being European.
Yeah. That's a very good description. But that's cool that you actually think in that in the metric system now when it comes to
at the
distances.
beginning I used to not, but because that my natural inclination is to say things in foot and inches, and I'm better with longer distances. Like if someone were parking a car and I was trying to tell them how much space they had between like their bumper, if they were parallel parking, I probably wouldn't be able to use metric for that.
So you would say like a foot. You still have a foot.
Yeah, I'd say like you have a foot, half a foot, maybe 4 inches.
Okay.
But I couldn't tell them what that is in centimeters. So, but luckily I'm normally the one driving.
Okay.
But I was going to say this is actually a good segue, unless you have anything else to add to our introduction, because we've been asking each other questions about our daily lives. This is going to be another Q&A episode. So we went through the questions that you guys sent us, and we also sent out a request for questions on Instagram. So if you don't follow us on Instagram, make sure you do so that you can participate in these Q&As when we ask for your guys' input.
Yeah, we did this one kind of last minute, so
yes.
You're going to have to check regularly because we don't post a lot, but when we post, it's going to be important and cool content. Have you ever posted your turkey, Josh?
Oh, no, I need to do that. I will do that. Remind me after we're done recording, and I will do it, I promise.
Turkey.
Hey, Siri, remind me at 9:45 to post turkey. Post turkey picture. Cool.
Cool. Done. So once this episode is out, hopefully the turkey picture will be up. Also, what is back up is my shop. I want to mention that real quick. In case you guys want any Christmas presents, felifromgermany.com, and I'm mentioning this not just because it's like my shop and my products, but there's also Understanding Train Station products. And I actually made a new product, which is a hoodie. I might also make a sweatshirt, maybe. I haven't thought about that. It's the same design as before, but before we only had it on a t-shirt where it was like embroidered and it said, I only understand train station. But now for the winter, you can also get it as a hoodie form, and maybe check the website. Maybe by the time that you're hearing this, I also decided to make it available as a sweatshirt as well. But definitely the hoodie. And then you can also get stickers, there's 2 stickers available, and a coffee mug if you want to represent the podcast. It says, I think the coffee mug says, I really need some coffee. I only understand train station. So yeah, that's on felifromgermany.com. And before we start with the questions that you guys ask us, for all of you who are currently trying to learn a language or really want to get started on learning a language, the year is almost over. Maybe you're like already kind of playing around with your New Year's resolutions for 2022. You can currently still get 40% off on the classes on Lingoda, which we've been talking about a lot, if you just click the link in the show notes down below or the info box on YouTube. That's our custom link. If you click on that, the discount will automatically be applied.
And yeah, if you guys have been following us as far as this whole Lingoda journey is concerned, I actually have started to take some more classes and work on my French even more, which I can only say that Lingoda has helped me a lot. I can understand a lot more what my roommates or my roommate and Chloe are saying when they speak with each other. So they have to watch out now what they say.
No more secret conversations.
Exactly. I mean, I don't understand everything, but I can pick out enough words to be dangerous.
Yeah.
So if you guys want to be able to eavesdrop, this is a great opportunity as well. One really cool thing about Lingoda, which we've talked about in the past, is that you always have native speakers as your teachers, which is really helpful. You always are surrounded with a proper accent, and you always get that cultural input in the lesson as well. A great advantage that Lingoda also has is that they're very flexible. There are classes all times of the day. No matter what time zone you're in, you're always able to find a class. So if you're looking for something that will fit your schedule, Lingoda is a great option.
So what kind of classes did you take, Josh? Was it more like topic-related questions, or was it grammar? Or where are you? I don't know where you're at with your French journey right now.
I mean, it's still pretty low, my level. So I've taken a class on reviewing the present tense. I've taken a class on asking questions in a class, which was really interesting for me because there are different registers in French, like not even just different registers, but different ways that you can ask questions that show more deference to the person that you're speaking with, which I hadn't realized before. So I'm sure because I've been picking up French just from my friends, I would have asked some things that may have been not the most polite thing to do when using French in a work setting. So that's been a huge thing that's been helpful, or that's one example of something that I've learned through Lingoda. And I have a class tomorrow, which is Return to Canada, or Back to Canada, I think is what it's called. So I'm sure there'll be some information about Québécois and the French spoken in Canada. So we'll see. It'll be
awesome.
Exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really, I don't really know a lot about that. Even though I took French for 6 years in school in the German gymnasium, I don't think we ever really covered French outside of France. Like, you know, and they also speak French in African countries and obviously, Canada. And for me, that's always been fascinating how, like, it's so close to where we are, or where I am here in Ohio. And, they speak both, and like in some places in Canada you have like all the signs in both languages and stuff like that, and I never really learned how the French language really what kind of role it plays in everyday life and how they speak there. So that's just a little like my 2 cents. Yeah, my 2 cents on that. I find that fascinating, and that's really cool that they offer that.
Definitely. And just kind of tying it back into Lingoda as well, I mean, my focus is right now obviously French, and you've taken French too, so it's kind of fun to exchange our experiences with that. But they also offer some other languages besides French. They have Spanish, they have German, they have English, and they also have business English if you're working on trying to improve, like I was saying, make sure that you're not insulting anyone or wanting to improve your business vocabulary. Business English is an option as well.
Yeah, if you like know most of your English from Netflix shows or from hip hop songs or something like that, maybe you might want to learn a few words here and there, or like just understanding how certain things work in a business setting. I'm assuming, I haven't taken that class, but I'm assuming that they would also teach you some of the office culture stuff or the like work culture stuff that we also talked about with Niklas, which actually that episode hasn't come out yet, but it's going to come out in 2 weeks. So a little spoiler or a little foreshadowing as to what you are expecting in 2 weeks on our podcast. Niklas is going to be back. I feel like everything goes back to like a year ago right now, because Niklas was here a year ago, Samar was here a year ago.
Yeah, you're right.
But so if you want to check out Lingoda, link is in the description box or in the info box. And I think now we can start with the questions.
So starting off with the first question, kind of a random one, but I thought it was interesting. Do they sell lottery tickets in Germany? In the US, each state has its own lottery, both scratch-offs and numbers, and some multiple state number lotteries. So do they have a lottery here in Germany, Feli?
They do. I'm like not quite sure what the official name is. I think it's just called Lotto. Or it's just called
I think
Lotto.
so.
Or Lotto Toto or Lotto Toto.
I think you're right. I may have seen. I feel like I've seen that somewhere.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's just their slogan or something. It's the same Lotto. The Germans among you guys will know what I'm talking about. But yeah, there's like an official lottery in Germany. I'm pretty sure there's also like little private ones, like in addition to the actual official lottery. But this one, for example, on the Tagesschau, which I know
that's
that
what I was going to mention.
You want to say?
Well, they have one. I mean, all I was going to say is on the Tagesschau, they always, at the end of each episode, they have the weather, or it's always soccer. Then I think it's the weather, and then the Lotto, or the other way around.
I think the Lottozahlen are at the very end, yeah.
Yes.
And so basically they announce
Diese Zahlen sind ohne Gewähr.
Yeah, they announced the lotto numbers that were drawn off the day. So that's part, and the Tagesschau is like the most official, I don't know what to call it, but the most official news show in Germany. Like I was going to say the most proper, but I don't even know how to explain it. But it's part of the public broadcasting. There's other newscasts on the other channels of the public broadcasting as well. But Tagesschau has just been this like institution since the Bundesrepublik, the Federal Republic of Germany, first came around, basically. So it's the super official newscast that every other person watches in Germany, pretty much, and they have it as part of their newscast. So. Yeah, that's like the official Lotto. If you play Lotto in Germany, that's usually what you play.
But do you know if it's? I assume it's Germany wide then, because it's
Germany-wide,
on the Tagesschau.
Yes.
Whereas in the U.S., like the person who asked the question stated, I think it's more of a state by state basis.
Yeah.
Because we also on like most newscasts that I grew up watching in the evening, they would also say the lottery numbers, which is just funny that that's like something that's newsworthy.
Yeah.
Like, I've never really thought of that or where that comes from. I wonder what the history behind the lottery being part of, like...
I would assume that maybe it used to be... I don't even know how the lotto is organized in Germany right now, but I would assume maybe it used to be a state-run thing, and maybe that's why, and they kind of wanted to get people to play. I don't know. If you guys know... leave a comment down below on YouTube, because, I mean, of course we could look it up right now, but that's not really how this podcast works. So, yeah, that's an interesting question. I don't know. But no, in Germany, it's definitely Germany-wide. A lot of these things are more Germany-wide, just broadcasting in general, if you think about it. We do have, so like the public broadcasting is broken down into regional subdivisions, basically. But besides radio, everything is really available all over the country, and we don't really differentiate between local TV and nationwide TV, because everything is usually nationwide. There's really only a very small number of local channels that are only for that city or for that region, but people don't really watch that a lot.
Yeah.
So it's very different than in the U.S., because I feel like in the U.S. it's very common to have local, especially news channels, news channels.
I would say, I would agree with you. There are the local channels, but they're normally part of a bigger association.
Network.
So, a bigger network.
Something.
So, like, for example, in Cincinnati, you have WCPO, which is Channel 9, but that's also part of the ABC network.
Yeah, but this one news channel, like their studio, that is just about the Cincinnati area, or mostly. I mean, they also cover, like, nationwide news, but it's not something that people on, like, in California will probably watch.
Yeah,
even though I'm sure they can somehow receive it. But like, for example, I don't know if they probably wouldn't be able to receive it through just normal cable.
I don't know. I don't think so. But this is all gefährliches Halbwissen.
Dangerous half knowledge.
Yes.
But so that's just like a difference right there with the states. And I think when it comes to Lotto as well, it wouldn't really make sense in Germany to break it down into 16 different systems, because we have 80 million people, but still it's not that big of a country, and you can just combine it all in one.
Exactly.
So that's the answer there.
Next question. Are there dating services in Germany, Feli?
No, we live on the moon.
People we don't
have internet in Germany, so or smartphones. So people still just go to dances and balls, and then they ask the other person to dance with them, and then sometimes they just ask them to marry them, and that's how it works in Germany.
That's the way it's supposed to work here. I thought you had to go to someone's parents and ask them if you can actually take the other person out for an evening.
Yeah, no, I forgot that part. Sorry, I forgot that. Of course, yes, you have to do that too. So you go to the dance, you meet the person, then you go to the parents, and then you go back to the dance next week, and then you ask them to marry you. Yeah.
Straight to marriage. No, but there definitely are dating services here in Germany. I mean, as far as dating apps are concerned, it's all the normal dating apps that you would have in the US as well.
I'm not the only one that I'm not quite sure exists is Hinge.
Okay. Yeah,
which, I mean,
you might be right.
A lot of you probably don't even know all the dating apps. I mean, there are so many out there. Probably everyone knows of Tinder. Tinder is available in Germany.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty much available all over the world. I know that Bumble, for example, is available. There's other ones like OkCupid or something like that that's available, I think.
One thing that I've seen here in Germany that I haven't seen in the US is Parship, which makes sense.
That's more like, that's not really one of those dating apps like Tinder.
It's not
but
an
it's
app,
more
though.
like,
It's more of a website, isn't it?
what's the one called in the US where they always have the
Christian
super cheesy
Mingle?
commercials? No, not that one, but probably similar like that too. Gosh, they have these super cringy commercials, and I watch them all the time on Hulu, and I can't think of the name of it right now. It's where like every 11 minutes, someone. It's the same. It's the same commercial basically as in Germany. Come on, I gotta. Is it Elite Partner or is that the German one? No, that's Elite Partner is German. Come on, dating.
I know. I'll know it as soon as you say it.
eHarmony.
eHarmony, yeah.
That's what I was talking about. And that one is more the equivalent in Germany for that would I think be Parship, and then also Elite Partner is another one like that, where it's not like one of these more modern dating apps, but it's one of those more old-fashioned ones that came around in the 2000s at some point, where you like sign up for a website and have a whole profile and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a profile on
that's
Tinder too.
I feel like that's for the older generation. We'll say.
Little.
I don't want. I say older, not old. It's older than us.
It's a different system, but also actually, I'm pretty sure it's probably the same for the American platforms. But I know for the German platforms, there's a lot of scams connected to those platforms because they basically get you hooked on it with, in a lot of cases, fake people who message you, fake profiles that the company creates, and then they get you hooked on talking to that person that isn't even a real person, and then you at some point have to pay for messages.
That's horrible.
So you only get a certain amount of messages for free, and I'm not quite sure if they changed it by now. This is also dangerous half knowledge, but I'm pretty sure that a few years ago that was a big scandal where people came out and said, yeah, I used to work for this company, and basically what I did all day was message all these different men who thought that I was this woman who I wasn't. I was just being paid to talk to them, basically.
That's horrible.
Yeah. But so that's just a disclaimer.
Yes.
You might want to stay away from that. But of course, also on the other dating apps, there's lots of fake profiles. It's just not usually organized by the company itself. It's just people who create fake profiles.
The only reason I know Parship is because I feel like they have ads everywhere in the U-Bahn.
Yes,
like everywhere. Like you'll be on an escalator and then you'll see like 20 signs for Parship.
That's the one also where they say every 11 minutes someone falls in love on Parship, right? Is it that one?
I don't know.
I think so. I think that's their slogan, and I think that's pretty much the same slogan as eHarmony.
Okay.
Like every so and so many minutes someone falls in love. I'm trying to think. There is another dating app that I don't think exists in the US, but I think exists in Germany, is called Lavu.
I haven't heard of it.
I've heard of that one, but yeah, overall, the answer is yes, there are dating services in Germany as well.
I'm sure there are matchmakers as well that you could go to.
Probably. So the next question is from Instagram and it's in German. Wie bestellt man richtig in einem Restaurant in den USA? I'll take ist ja falsch, oder? So the question is, how do you order something in a restaurant in the US, like correctly? How do you order correctly? And the person says to say I'll take da is wrong, isn't it? But I don't know, it's not necessarily wrong, I don't think, but it's probably not super common to say. I usually say, can I get blah, blah, blah.
I think you can get away with saying I'll take, especially if you have an accent, a non-native English-speaking accent. It's just as a little schroff is a word, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just a little rough around the edges, a little too, it's just like, I'll take.
It sounds too demanding. It's a little more, the German way of ordering rather than the American way of ordering is more like, could I have that? Or can I have that?
May I have?
Yeah, or can I do the pasta with blah, 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 but can I do that without the meat? Kind of like that.
I think that's the important thing. When you're ordering in a restaurant, the most polite way to do it is always ask a question. Mm-hmm. So you're ordering, which is funny because if you're thinking of with the word order, like you'd be giving someone directions, but that's too direct in at least the American context.
Yep.
The friendliest way that you can do it in the US is to ask the question, can I, could I, do you have, would it be possible to get, but I'll take, like I said, it's not grammatically incorrect, nor is it 100% rude. You might just rub your server the wrong way. That would be my analysis of the situation.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I want to say I've probably said I'll do before. So if someone asks like, so have you decided on what beer you want? I feel like I've probably said something like, yeah, I'll do the blah 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 lager.
See, that sounds weird to me.
Yeah, okay, then like I'm just not doing it correctly.
No, I mean, I everyone would understand what you mean, and I don't know if it's just me saying it sounds weird or not, but I would say like, could I get, or I'll take.
Yep.
No, so that's the thing. If when it's drinks, this is what I was thinking while you were saying this, even before you were saying this. Like if I were to get a coffee somewhere, or if I were ordering a beer or some sort of drink, I would say I'll take.
Okay.
I'll take a Rheingeist. That context. We might be very nitpicky now, and trying to draw. We might be trying to draw distinctions where you can't really draw distinctions. But
yeah, there
I think
isn't a rule there. It's just kind of our perception right now. Yeah, our feeling. And also, I mean, it's not my native language, so I might be doing it wrong. But I usually, even like at the drive-thru, which Americans go through a lot of drive-thrus, I feel like, people usually still, even though it's a very impersonal situation, and sometimes it's like a more like blah 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 blah. What can I get for you? Like they're not always super polite on the other end either. But usually people say, "Yeah, hi, can I have the McDonald's menu? Blah blah blah. And can I get that with a Coke? And can I get a large fry on the side or so, whatever?" People usually still start their sentences with "Can I get?"
Yeah.
Or "Can I have?" or something.
For sure, I probably would have been scolded as a child if I didn't ask it in that form of "Can I get?" or "Could I have?"
Mm-hmm. I think we answered the question.
I was going to say, so to be on the safe side, always form the question and use can or could.
Yeah. And then on the other hand, if you're a tourist in Germany, and especially if you order in German, but also if you do it in English, maybe your waiter might be confused if you ask a question. They might react like, yeah, of course you can have that. It's on the menu. Why are you asking that?
Yeah.
Then they might be like, is that what you want to get? And then, so like on the other hand, German waiters and waitresses might be confused if you ask the question.
Yeah. I actually, it reminds me of it's slightly related, so just hang in there with me. But I had a trip planned to Vienna, which was canceled because of the lockdown in Austria. And we had booked a Supersparpreis ticket with the Deutsche Bahn, so non-refundable, non-transferable ticket with the German train system. And we went to the office to try to get our money back anyway, which I knew that we wouldn't be successful. But it just was... I thought this was actually funny from the person who worked for the Deutsche Bahn. I asked the question, ich hätte kurz mal eine Frage, is what I said. And then I started to ask my question. So I said, I have a quick question, or a short question. And then she said, stop. The question is already too long.
What? Wow.
I mean, it was pretty direct. It was pretty direct, but I thought like she was smiling and laughing about it too at the same time. So the delivery was okay.
Joking?
Yeah, she did it with like a wink in her eye, but it just made me think like, oh, me trying to be overly polite, and then the German just coming and smacking me like, no. If you're gonna say if you're gonna say it's a short question, then make it short.
Yeah, that is a good example for that difference right there.
Let's see. Oh, and for those of you who are interested, we didn't get a refund and we could not transfer the ticket.
Damn. That sucks. Especially since it's not even your fault. It's like government restrictions.
The response that I got when I said that was, because I said that basically that same exact thing, but she said, it's been the pandemic for so long, people should be aware that anything could happen now. But c'est la vie. So the next question is, which country is more multicultural? Also regarding the rural areas. Now, we haven't done any research prior to reading these questions. So, I mean, our normal disclaimer, these are just our opinions unless we tell you otherwise. But from my feeling, I would almost say that Germany's more multicultural. But I think it's really hard. It's really hard to compare the two countries because, I mean, if you look at like the big cities in the US, I would say they're probably more multicultural than the big cities in Germany.
Yeah, like New York City. Yeah. I mean, Berlin is pretty multicultural too. But I don't even know if there's an answer there, but my first impression would have been that the U.S. is more multicultural. But then if you look specifically, because I mean, the U.S., that's the history of the U.S. is like a country of immigrants.
That's
and
true.
At the same time, though, like not all immigrants are very welcome here, even the ones from like the Western world. Like if you know my story, it's really hard to get a visa to stay in the U.S. or to get a green card or something like that. So it's kind of like both in a way. Like on the one hand, the culture is here of like welcoming people. On the other hand, they don't make it very easy these days. But I definitely feel like you have more of these Little Italy or like Chinatown, like all of these little parts of cities in a lot of big cities, not just New York City. But in rural areas, though, in the U.S., I feel like it gets very white very quickly. It gets very homogenous pretty quickly, too, where I feel like you don't even see a lot of black people, which in the U.S. should be normal because they've been around for centuries. So in that sense, I feel like it might even be more multicultural in the rural areas in Germany, even though...
I would agree with that assessment.
Yeah. Even though there's also discrimination in rural areas in Germany for sure. But for example, with the refugees, a lot of refugees are actually accommodated in more rural areas in Germany first because that's where we have space for them. And so a lot of them actually kind of get settled there more than in the big cities at first.
I think now that you're talking about that, for me, it's a hard question to answer just because my experiences in the two countries are Cincinnati and Munich, and Cincinnati is in the Midwest. It's a relatively, it is relatively diverse, I would say, but still, especially the suburban areas of Cincinnati are very white. So that's my experience in Cincinnati, then coming to Munich, living in the city, and having a very international friend group here. I mean, I had an international friend group in Cincinnati as well, but here, that's why I think my initial response would be to say that Germany is more multicultural. But now that you're talking about like the Chinatowns and all of that type of stuff that you'll get in the bigger U.S. cities that I haven't seen here.
No.
So I would say that's a really hard question to answer without looking at statistics, because it's all based off of my personal experience. But
it really just depends on where you go, I feel like. And also at the same time, if you go to anywhere more in the South, California, Florida, obviously half of the stuff is like half Spanish and half Latino culture. So that right there is like pretty multicultural in that sense. Well, I guess maybe like bicultural, but still, like, it's pretty common in a lot of parts of the U.S. to also have street signs in Spanish, or when you call an official place like insurance or internet provider, they will ask you what your preferred language is, or the ATM will ask you English or Spanish.
Yeah.
So that's another point there, that we don't really have that like that in Germany. We might have it with like Turkish a little bit or Arabic languages, but not nearly as strongly as in the US.
Yeah. You're right. When I call like a hotline from, especially the government, it's normally only in German, not even an English option.
Yeah.
Which I'm not saying is necessarily a bad thing. It's just an observation.
Yeah. Not as accommodating to people who don't speak German. Okay. That got heavy.
Yes. Wie oft fliegt ihr in eure Heimat?
Should we answer one question in German?
Sure.
Okay. Wie oft fliegt ihr in eure Heimat? I'm going to translate the question first. So how often do you fly home? How often do you travel home? We'll answer it in German real quick and then translate afterwards and also add subtitles on YouTube. Bei mir kommt immer drauf an, aber aktuell schon so 2-mal im Jahr. Aber ich hatte auch schon eine Zeit, wo ich dann irgendwie mal 10 Monate nicht zu Hause war oder so.
Das ist schon ziemlich krass.
Ja, oder halt auch dann irgendwie 6 Wochen am Stück zu Hause war, was ich dann auch schon wieder als mehr zählen würde, als jetzt nur ein Aufenthalt. Von daher ist echt schwer zu sagen. Bei dir jetzt? Also ich meine, du bist ja erst seit einem Jahr
Ich bin erst seit
weg.
einem Jahr, genau, also das wollte ich gerade von Anfang an sagen. Also ich bin erst seit einem Jahr nicht zu Hause, beziehungsweise in der Heimat. Und ich war schon 2-mal dort und werde dann ab Ende der Woche ein 3. Mal zurückfliegen. Aber ich stelle mir vor, das nächste Jahr zumindest werde ich 2-mal zurückfliegen. Also einmal im Sommer und einmal zu Weihnachten.
Ja.
Und ich
Ja,
glaube,
also
das wird so
Weihnachten
ungefähr
ist
mein
schon
Rhythmus sein.
Weihnachten ist schon irgendwie so, da fliegen die meisten Leute nach Hause. Jetzt natürlich, während der Pandemie ist das alles ein bisschen anders. Also auch unsere Freundin Sheffi zum Beispiel, die hatten wir auch schon mal im Podcast, die kommt aus Indien und hat ganz lange in Cincinnati gewohnt, lebt jetzt in New York. Und die war jetzt seit 2 Jahren nicht zu Hause, weil es halt nicht ging mit der Pandemie und so. Aber normalerweise war die auch immer mindestens einmal im Jahr, halt immer zu Weihnachten normalerweise. Sind halt
Genau,
dann
so
viele
war es auch
bisschen nach Hause.
bei Niklas, gell? Also,
Ja.
also
Ja, der war auch
voll
jetzt 2 Jahre nicht.
Ja, der war vorher voll oft in Deutschland.
Ja.
Und dann wegen der Pandemie konnte er nicht. Also,
Ja. Ja, ich hatte da Glück halt wegen meiner
Ja.
Green Card, dass das ging.
Haben wir
Aber auch
beide gehabt.
trotzdem, ja, voll, mit den beiden Statussen, mit den beiden Stati.
Ich glaube, Stati.
Aber ich glaube, das sagt man so auf Deutsch irgendwie nicht.
Aufenthaltstiteln.
Ja, also genau. Dass wir das halt machen konnten, dass wir in beide
Ja.
Länder reisen konnten. Auch wenn da irgendwie Lockdown und Einreisebeschränkungen waren.
Das ist auf jeden Fall ein Privileg, was viele
Ja.
nicht haben.
Okay, so we said it's really hard to say because for me it really varies. There have been times where I haven't been home in like 10 months, but usually it's probably at least twice a year. But then also sometimes I was like home for 6 weeks at once, which is
Yeah.
like kind of longer than a regular trip. But usually for Christmas, like for sure, and then maybe one other time.
Yeah, in my case, it's kind of hard to say too because I've only been away from my hometown basically for coming up on a year now. But in that year, I've been home twice already, and I'm going home again for Christmas, so it'll be 3 times. But I think as far as next year is concerned, I can imagine probably just going home twice, once in the summer and once for Christmas, and I think that'll be kind of my normal rhythm. I know my parents are planning on coming and visiting if everything is possible at some point, so we'll see. But yes,
I'm like
hey, I like
crossing
that.
my fingers.
That's good. Crossing the fingers with the one hand and pressing your thumb on the other.
Yeah, those of you who are just listening, you didn't see that. But yeah, I did the thumb pressing, the Daumendrücken that we do in Germany for good luck, and then the finger crossing that Americans and I think also other English-speaking nations do for good luck. I don't even know where people do the pressing your thumb.
I think the thumb is really just a German thing.
Just German?
I've never seen any other nationality besides maybe like Austrians or Swiss people do the thumb thing.
Do French people cross their fingers?
I don't know. I just was thinking, and after we're done recording, I'm going to do a quick little Umfrage, a quick survey of my roommates to see what they do.
Also, I would assume the Australian roommate probably definitely does
Yeah.
crossing their fingers because I feel like that's just an English speaking thing. But so if you're like us, you kind of have to do both because you never know. Like this is for the German part, this is for the American
Does
part.
that double our luck if we do both?
I hope it doesn't cancel it out.
That would not be good.
For Germans, for some reason, I think Americans do this too, but I think when Germans think of crossed fingers, they just think of someone who's lying.
Yes.
So like, but Americans do that too, so it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
The same gesture has 2 meanings in English then.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I'm just used to it for meaning both, but you just use the context. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought of that. So kind of a throwback question. We're not sure if we've answered this before. We're pretty sure that we've at least talked about it, but someone asked on Instagram how we met. How did we meet, Kaylee? It's funny because like when we were both living in the same town, and we hung out a lot, people would constantly ask us the question, and then we got used to telling each other stories.
Yeah.
So Feli, who am I and how did we meet?
It was always the same questions. It was always like, wait, but you're German? But when did you come to the U.S.? Did your parents come to the U.S. when you were a little kid? No, I just came here last year. Wait, but you don't have a German accent. And then the same for you. Like, wait, but you, what language do you guys speak? German? Because like sometimes when we like spoke to each other, it would be German in public, and people would be like, what language is that? And then they would hear you, and they'd be like, where are you from? And you'd be like, oh, I'm from here. And they'd know, like, really, where are you from? And you'd be like, no, I'm from here. Oh, your parents are German. No.
Nope. But yes, I guess we met. Yeah, go ahead.
I'll tell the story. Sorry, I just I took that little detour. We met at a Stammtisch the first time, which is like a regular meeting, a regulars table. It's a German term, but here in the US, they really just use that word for regular rounds, regular meetings where people get together over maybe a drink, maybe some food to practice their German, basically.
Yeah.
And there was one here, I think that one still exists, organized by Cincy Deutsch, which is a Cincinnati organization. And it was always held at Mecklenburg Gardens, which is a traditional German restaurant here in Cincinnati. And I actually went because I had just gotten to Cincinnati. I think that was like my, second, maybe third week here. Probably like second week.
Wow, that's crazy, yeah.
Yeah, and our mutual friend Mallory, who unfortunately moved to Texas a couple of years ago, she had gone on a couple German exchange trips, and she took German in college. I think, was it her major or was it her minor?
I think it was her minor.
Mm-hmm. And so she was like, she had a pretty big connection to Germany and German, and she really wanted to practice her German. And she reached out to me on Facebook when I wasn't even in the US yet, but I had posted into a Facebook group asking if there's any free rooms in a WG, basically, so in like a shared house or shared apartment for me to live in, because I didn't really want to do the on-campus housing that most exchange students did. I really wanted to more, first of all, I wanted to save money because that was like insanely expensive for a shared room with no kitchen and stuff.
Crazy.
But also I wanted more I wanted to experience the real life a little more rather than the sheltered on-campus college life where alcohol isn't allowed and stuff like that. And so she messaged me and she was like, hey, I don't have a room for you, but that's so cool that you're from Germany. Would you want to meet up with me when you get here and practice some German? And I was like, yeah, awesome. People are reaching out to me. Cool. She seems nice. I'm going to meet up with her. And so we met at Starbucks, her and it was like, I think she was a little careful, like, who is she? Like, I met her on the internet. And then we really liked each other. And then I met Cynthia through Mallory, who was also...
Had you guys met before? Had you met before the Stammtisch, Cynthia?
No, I met, yeah.
Ah,
so
okay.
because Mallory and Cynthia lived together. So Mallory basically took me home with her, and I met Cynthia. And then they were both part of the German club at UC. I know I'm kind of like telling the story really long right now.
That's okay, though.
They were both part of the German club at UC, and so were you. You were the vice president at the time.
Yes, I was the vice president. So Cynthia was the president, and I was the vice president, and we were trying to come up with things for the German club to do. So we decided that we would do an outing to the Stammtisch that was put on by Cincy Deutsch. And that's how we ended up at the Stammtisch where Feli was.
Yeah, Mallory basically invited me. She was like, hey, we're like going to Stammtisch on Mondays. Do you have time? I'll come pick you up. I didn't have a car at the time. I didn't have a car for the longest time here. So she came to pick me up, and we went. And it was like still summer. It was really hot. And so the Stammtisch took place outside in the beer garden. And I remember that, there were just a lot of different people, some students, some older people, very mixed group. And I remember that you were somewhere on the other side of the table, and you like yelled over, you were like, hey, woher kommst du? Yeah. Yeah. And you said something like in Bavarian, you said like, Minga. That was that. Yeah. But also
and the rest is history.
The rest is history. It was more like a group thing in the beginning, though. We all just kind of like hung out in the group. You guys were kind of like my German part of my America experience. Like I had my American friends, and then I had you guys, which was like a really nice mix because I didn't really want to just speak German or just hang out with other exchange students, which a lot of other exchange students did that they kind of stayed in their bubble. And I didn't want to do that, but this was like a nice solution because it was people who lived here but still had a connection to Germany, and I could speak German with you guys. And I remember that I would ask a lot of questions. Like it was like the safe space where I could ask all these culture-related questions and you guys would understand.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if I can remember any of the questions that you used to ask. Do you have any questions in specific that you remember asking?
I don't remember. I know that I would definitely ask you language questions, or you and Cynthia, because Cynthia is bilingual. She's half American and half German, so she speaks both languages natively. And I would always ask you, wait, so how do you translate this phrase into English, how would I? Or I would probably also ask you questions like the one about ordering.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly, but I think I pretty much asked everything that came to my mind, and I felt like it was a very safe space to ask those questions without sounding dumb or without asking it to a person who doesn't even understand what I'm asking. Because a lot of people who didn't speak German or didn't speak another language would be very confused when I asked those things. So...
Yeah, and I mean, for me, it was cool because, like you said, it was just an interesting mix of people during that time because there were Americans who were speaking German or learning German, like me. Then there was you, who was like full German, and then we had Cynthia, who was like the mix. So it was just kind of a cool mixture of people with the German connection, but also living in the U.S. and having grown up in the U.S. So it was a cool time, and that's how we got to know each other and became friends. Yeah,
and then you and I kind of like kept growing the group with other German exchange students and other German people who moved to the US or to the Cincinnati area. So we kind of always had like a little German group when you still lived here. Yeah.
No, that's what I always say is the majority of my friends in Cincinnati were German.
Yeah.
Or at least had the connection to Germany.
You found the 10 German people in Cincinnati. No, just kidding. There's actually a lot of German people in Cincinnati.
Yeah, there are. Definitely.
Yeah, that's the story. I mean, we just started being friends 5 years ago and we haven't stopped.
Yeah. Here's to another good 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, in the meantime, you moved to my hometown, which is crazy.
It's just
I
insane.
never knew that I would stay here. I mean, I know that at the time I was already kind of thinking about how can I come back, because as I said, the visa situation isn't very easy. But I never knew that I would still be here 5 years from then.
Yeah. It's really pretty insane that you're still there, you know? And I was going to say, it kind of ties into another question that was in our list was, would you say that it's easy to find a job as a German in the sense of being able to move to the US? And maybe, I mean, I know you've talked about your story of moving to the US somewhat and trying to find jobs in different visa statuses, but maybe you could just say something to that question of, was it easy? I mean, I think I know the answer, but...
I mean, for me, I feel like my story isn't like the most typical story because I already had connections here and I never actually found a full-time position that then sponsored my visa, which is usually how it works. So I came back for an unpaid internship in my case, which you can do for a nonprofit organization on a volunteer status. Then I came back to get my master's, so I was back on a student visa, and then I won the green card lottery. So basically, I always tell people that if you're still younger, the best way to go is actually go to school here, go to university here. Doesn't have to be your bachelor's, your full 4-year thing, but if you already have a bachelor's degree, just try and apply to different universities for a master's, for example, or for a PhD. If you're German, one pretty safe bet or like one of the easiest things to go into is definitely German studies, which is what I got my master's in. So basically Germanistic, but in the US it's a little different because obviously not everyone who studies it is a native speaker. And it was a lot more interdisciplinary. How do you emphasize that word?
Interdisciplinary.
Okay, interdisciplinary. Then it would have been in Germany. But also you can definitely apply to other programs as well. When it comes to everything business related, it's usually pretty hard to get funding. Or at least it's harder and it's more expensive. For German studies, for example, or other humanity-related subjects, it's usually fairly easy to get a scholarship either through the school itself or through Fulbright or DAAD, which is a German organization or a German institution. So that's like one way. I'm not trying to get more into detail there, but that's like the first path that I would take, because once you're already here on the student visa, you can get OPT, which is optional practical training. So after you graduate, your visa is going to be extended if you find a job in that field that you got your degree in, and then you're going to be able to work on that same status, visa status. When it comes to just if you're like in older, or like you don't want to go to university, and you just want to find a job from Germany in the US, I would say it's pretty difficult, actually, except if you have connections. That's definitely always good. Or if you try it with a German company that is located in the US. And also, it's definitely easier for certain fields. So in the field of kind of what Josh is in, more anything that's more car related, more what's like engineering, manufacturing,
STEM. Yeah,
everything, more STEM related, is definitely easier, I feel like, because there are more German companies in that field in the US, all over the country too. And a lot of them really appreciate, for example, if you have an Ausbildung, I think a lot of the American companies actually value your education and your training that you had in Germany. But it's not easy to just go to an American company from abroad and apply and be like, hi, I'm this German dude. Even if you're qualified for the position, basically what you're going to have to ask the company to do is that they sponsor your visa. And applying to American companies usually goes through an online process at first. And you usually fill out this form online. And one of the questions in most cases is, do you require sponsoring? Which means, are you already an American citizen, or do you already have a work permit / are you a green card holder? And if you're not, that means more work for the company, because they would actually have to apply for a work visa for you. And most companies do not want to do that. So as soon as you check that box, they're already going to put your application.
Throw out your application.
Yeah, they're not even going to look at it. So it's actually really hard when you're in that position. There are a few ways, of course, to do it. As I said, if you have connections, that's good. Or if it's a German company. Like, for example, if you already work for a German company, or that could also be a way to apply to that German company in Germany, then they can send you over through a different visa. That is then, I don't know what it's called exactly, but it's like sending your employee over visa.
It's like a transfer visa, internal transfer.
If they also have a location in the US. So that is also one of the most common ways for people to get over. Or, of course, you come here and get married to an American, but it has to be a real marriage because they're very strict with that. Yeah. Or you win the green card lottery. But overall, I know this was a long answer, but it is a very complex topic. Yeah. Overall, it's not easy, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I mean, kind of in
you were
summary.
Just keep it short.
Well, no, I mean, I think that was a really good detailed answer that can help a lot of people. So I'm happy that you went that far into detail and gave people some ideas of ways that they can move to the U.S. if they're interested. But if you compare it with moving to Germany or moving to Europe for a job, especially as an American, it's very complex as a European to go to the U.S. Because here I could just apply for a position and then I could do the paperwork myself. I mean, the company had to fill a couple things out, but generally not much. It was relatively low barrier to entry. So. Yeah,
but also like in the US, for example, with a work visa, it takes a long time to get it. For example, the regular work visa, like your standard category, is H-1B, and that one in itself is already a lottery. So not even every company that requests that for their employee will get it for their employee. So only a certain amount of people even receive that. But also you might have to wait for a full year to even find out, even if you get it, and then to get it processed. So it's not like you can just move to the US on a tourist visa and then expect that within those 90 days that you're allowed to stay as a tourist, you can go around, meet people, find a job, and then you're good to go. That's unfortunately not really how it works here.
I don't even think you're technically allowed to look for a job when you're there on your 90 days.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure about that, so definitely look that up before. That is definitely possible that you're not allowed to do that. I mean, of course, it's always better to be vor Ort, wie wir auf Deutsch sagen. So like to be there and in person, talk to people, meet people, ask people what they would do if they have connections. Because of course, if you have like a personal connection with someone already, and they're like the CEO or they're in a position where they can make decisions, they might be willing to sponsor that for you.
Yeah.
But when moving to Europe, a lot of people do that. They just go there on a tourist visa, and then they find a job, and then they do the paperwork later, and you can't do that in the US.
No.
So I think we answered that question. Okay, I think we're gonna have to wrap it up. We should just do this more often. Now that we don't do weekly episodes, I mean, we haven't done that in like over half a year, but to me it's still kind of like new, I feel like. But it sucks because it's only 2 episodes a month, and then you have all these other things that you want to do, and so if you want to do a regular Q&A episode, it would take up like half or like a third of all the episodes, and you can't really do that. But I do want to do it again soon because I really like answering you guys' questions. But the last question that we want to answer was phrased in German. To both of us, it said, wie lange wird Josh in Deutschland bleiben? And then, wie lange wird Feli in den USA bleiben? So how long is Josh going to stay in Germany? How long is Feli going to stay in the US?
I just got the notification to post the turkey picture. Well, I guess I can answer that first. In my life, there's a little bit of an update. I actually am starting a new job at the beginning of the year. So I'm very excited about it. I'm moving a little bit away from the technical field that I was in, changing companies, which also involved changing all of the paperwork, which we just got done talking about, which, like I said, in Europe, it's really not that much paperwork. And my new company kind of did all of the paperwork for me, which was a funny experience because they sent me to the Ausländerbehörde with like a this is very Denglish, with a Betreuer, like someone to take care of me and make sure everything was done properly, which was super nice, and I was very appreciative of it. Just was a little awkward when I showed up and was speaking with him. He was like, "What? Wait, why am I here?"
So he was supposed to
he's used to translate.
Yeah,
because all of the written correspondence was in English because it's actually an American company here in Munich. So it'll be an interesting experience for me to work at an American company in Germany. My working experience so far has all been at German companies, so it's definitely a change in that regard. But all of that to say, I said I'm moving from a technical field into more of a sales position, which I think better fits my my strengths. So I'm looking forward to it. And for that reason, I'm definitely going to be here in Germany longer than maybe I previously thought. I don't know if I would phrase it that way, but since I'm starting something new, starting a new job, I definitely will be here for at least one other year, but probably longer is kind of the way I would phrase it at this point. It's open-ended. As long as I'm doing well here and enjoying things, and the new job fits, then who knows? Time will tell.
Yeah. Well, that's super exciting. I mean, I already knew that, but
yes.
Very exciting news, Josh. I hope that everything goes well with the new job and the new start. New year, new start.
Yes. New year, new me.
Yeah. New year, new me, new job, new everything. No, same apartment, same city, I guess, right?
Yes.
So
shorter commute.
Yeah, that's gonna be nice. Same podcast.
Very much so.
Same podcast co-host. How boring.
Yes. Same old.
But no, for me, I think I've said this many times already, but it's basically the same thing. It's kind of open-ended. I do know, and I've always said this, and this hasn't changed, that I will live in Germany at some point again, but I don't really know if that's going to be then permanent or if it's just going to be a temporary stay in Germany and then moving back here. That really kind of depends on where life takes me. But I mean, I have an amazing family. I'm not one of those people I'm very fortunate. I have a very, very loving and caring family and also a bigger family. And they're all in Germany. They're all in the Munich area, or at least that one side of my family is. And it's definitely a sacrifice for me to be away from them.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm lucky that we both are, that we live in a time where it's very easy to communicate, even across continents. But especially when I have a family of my own at some point, or, parents get older, I do want to be close to them at some point. I want my kids to live in Germany at some point, either permanently or at least experience it for a few years. So that's my answer, but also it is kind of open-ended here. Like, I just always take it step by step. I always say, schauen wir mal. I never planned on staying here for 5 years, because I think if I had planned that from the beginning, I would have freaked myself out. Because I'm actually not that courageous. Like, I'm not like, I'm just going to move abroad for 10 years. No big deal. Like, if that had been the plan, I would have never gotten on the plane in the first place.
I would say the same thing goes for me too. I don't think I could have committed to something that big.
Yeah, it's more like that you commit to something small and you know you can always go home. That's the other thing. Like, that really helps, knowing that if something goes wrong, I can pack my things and leave, technically, because I am a German citizen. I have a place to stay with my family. There's nothing major that keeps me here. So that's always nice to know. But I think you like take that first little step, and then you like it, and then you're like, oh, okay, I think I can maybe stay a little bit longer, or do things like me, like, oh man, I think I can buy a house, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
These like the next steps that you're taking afterwards. But yeah, so for me, kind of an unanswered question. I don't really know how and when things are going to change, where I'm going to be at one point in my life. But there's no end date to my stay in the US.
Schauen wir mal.
Schauen wir
Dann
mal.
sehen wir schon.
Yeah, and of course, I'm so lucky that I have that opportunity with the green card. And you do too, right? Because like, if you stay in your job, or even if you don't stay in your job, what will be your visa status? Is it connected to the job?
It is connected to the job. Yeah.
Okay.
So if I lose my job or for whatever reason, I'm unemployed. I can't really be unemployed here right now. Okay. I have to have a job to be able to stay.
Okay.
Or become a student or whatever it may be until I am able to apply for my Niederlassungserlaubnis.
Okay, that would be then the equivalent of the green card. Like permanent residency.
Exactly. And then there's also a thing called the Daueraufenthalt EU, which is like a permanent residency for the EU. So I could move to another European country. Because right now, if I were to move to, let's say, France or Spain, I would have to change my visa status and everything and go through all of that with that specific country. But with this other title that I'm talking about, it would be easier. We'll say it that way.
Okay.
So yes.
Well, yeah, I think we answered the question, and that is the last question for today's episode, because I'm pretty sure we're already, no, actually we're not that long, but I think this is a good time to cut it off, because
it's
the last
getting late
couple
for me too, so it's good timing.
I said the cast
the cast couple,
the cast level episodes. The last couple episodes were extremely long, so yeah, we don't have to overdo it today. But there's going to be one more episode before Christmas. I think actually the day before Christmas Eve. So yeah, and enjoy your holiday time, guys. Like, enjoy the Weihnachtszeit, Christmas time. Enjoy Christmas markets if you are able to go to some. And then I also am flying home to Germany.
Yeah,
next
I was going to say
week.
safe travels, Feli.
Yeah, thank you. What time are you? Okay, no, actually, we don't have to. We don't have to do this on record. I'll ask you once we have wrapped it up. But yeah, enjoy your holiday time, everyone. And as I said, if you still need a Christmas present, you can check out felifromgermany.com for some Understanding Train Station merch or Servus merch or whatever. I have a lot of stuff. I also have a kids collection now if you have kids in your family and you want a I made a bib, but also a baby onesie that says Subtitles, but with a baby bottle. And I actually think it's really funny.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
So it's tapped, but with a milk bottle, of course, not beer. But yeah, anyways, you guys know that you can support us by following on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. You can also subscribe on YouTube. If you do that, we really appreciate it. You can also leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. And if you want to comment down below, I think there were a few topics here and there that kind of are good topics for you to share your knowledge and your opinions, and maybe correct us on our dangerous half knowledge that we shared throughout this episode. And then you can also email us at understandingtrainstation@gmail.com. You could follow us on Instagram, see the turkey picture at understandingtrainstation. And then you can join our Patreon family at patreon.com/understandingtrainstation. Join our monthly Q&A or hangout sessions on there. And you can also buy us a drink on buymeacoffee.com/UTS podcast. I know I didn't let you say anything, Josh.
No, you're fine. You got it all out, which is great.
Yeah, well, thank you guys for listening. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope we answered some of your questions today. And if you have more questions, send them to us in some way, YouTube comments, emails, and then maybe next time we do one of these episodes, we will get to your question.
Until next time.
Until next time, tschüss.
Servus.